Hey guys, in this video, let's go ahead and see if we can make this fun character that I just saw on Pinterest completely randomly. So it's one of the Pokemon characters, and I guess his name is Hitmonlee. I'm not really into Pokemon, but I thought he was a really cool character, and maybe he would be a fun character to attempt to make in zBrush, just as a fun exercise. So how would I approach something like this to make something like this? So there's a couple different ways. One would be definitely just grabbing like a sphere, like a Dynamesh sphere, and attempting to just just adding more shapes and creating kind of a base model and then sculpting the rest. Or another way of doing it would be to maybe bring in, like if we go to a pen, for example, we can grab the Z-spheres, and Z-spheres are cool because we can create sort of a custom base mesh that resembles in some way what this character looks like. So let's try this. Let's try maybe that approach. So I'm going to press X on my keyboard to go into a symmetry mode, and if you think of this sphere as kind of like his head, the next logical thing would be to pull out his arms, right? So I'm going to look at this indication here, which way I'm facing. So right now I'm on the side, and I do have my X symmetry on. So I'm going to drag kind of this sphere, which is going to be sort of the shoulder of my character. And now I'm going to drag one more, and that's going to be his arm. I'm just going to pull this out, and I definitely want to make him in a T pose, or we could do an A pose. Let's do T pose, so maybe we can also have fun and bring him into Maya and add a couple of joints maybe to get him animated. So whenever you want to preview what your base mesh looks like once you are building with Z-spheres, you can also always press A, and that's going to give you a preview of what your actual mesh looks like. So I'm going to press A again to go back into Z-sphere mode. And next, I'm looking at the character. I can't really tell. It looks like he has two fingers and a thumb, right? So let's go ahead and give him a thumb. And for that, I need to go back into draw mode, and I can press S to change the size of my brush. And I'm just going to draw a thumb right here, and I'm going to give him a couple fingers. So this is one, and this is going to be two. Go back to my move and see if I can just, from the top view, maybe I can drag these out. So the thumb is going to be obviously a little bit shorter, and then these two fingers are going to be, somewhat longer, right? So you got something like this. Again, pressing A will give me a nice preview of what my base mesh looks like. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to press A again, and let's go ahead and do the legs. So for the legs, go back into my draw mode. And of course there's the shortcut for that, but I'm just pressing it on my UI just so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to drag out my legs, and I'm going to do another sphere here, and I'm going to go into move mode and see if we can just drag these out. And maybe I'm going to actually give myself yet another sphere. Maybe one here. And let's see if we can just drag this out. Something like this, I think, makes sense. And for the feet, I can just, if you hover, if you go to draw mode and you hover over any one of these kind of rings, if you just tap, it's going to create a new sphere. So like if this was a knee, for example, I can tap it here. And then the cool thing about that is that then, I can move it around. So that's kind of neat. I do want to keep this straight just so I can create these donuts for his legs. It would be a lot easier if this was straight. And for the foot, I'm just gonna drag this out. And if you want to delete something, so in this case, I don't need this bottom one. So you can go to draw, and then you can hold down the Alt key and just click, and that will remove it. So keep that in mind. I'm going to press W to go into a move, and I think this is going to be my base mesh for my guy. And pressing A again is going to give us a preview of what that looks like. So I think I'm going to go ahead and roll with something like this as the initial stage or step. Okay, so once you are happy with how your Z-spheres are looking, you can go down to adaptive skin, and if you press A, you can change the density of your base mesh. So maybe in my case, I'm going to switch it to 3, and pressing A essentially just turns this button on and off, right? So I'm now going to click Make Adaptive Skin. All right, so when you press that, go up, and instead of going into a Z-sphere, kind of a folder here, click on skin Z-sphere, which is skin_Z-sphere. If you click on that, you'll see that you will not be able to press A any longer, because now you're dealing with an actual mesh, and you are sort of out of this that initial Z-sphere mode, right? So that is really cool, because now we can begin to grab any one of our brushes and we can start sculpting on this. So let's begin sculpting our head, just like the reference. So he's got kind of a interesting head up here. Hold on the shift key, I can smooth this out. And I'm looking at his body, it's kind of longer. It's almost like, if you think about it, it's almost like a kind of a drop, like a water drop. So it's definitely kind of skinnier in the bottom and kind of almost like a balloon on top. So I think that makes sense. I don't really have a reference for his back, but I'm assuming there's not much going on. It's probably very similar as the front. So something like that. If we wanted to pull out our legs, for example, in this case, I'm definitely feeling like they're very short. We can just make our brush ginormous and just pull these down. And only using the move tool, let's just continue to refine what we think our base mesh needs to be. So I'm not going to worry about the toes, but I can just begin to slowly sort of sculpt the foot, which is going to be, I can see from the reference, it's a little bit wide, and it will have those 3 pointy toes, right? Or nails, I guess. And for the legs, so you can always jump out of the perspective mode and go into orthographic view if we want to have kind of a better understanding of how the shape is feeling and looking, right? So what I need to do is make sure that I'm happy with the foot first before I move on to the leg. So I'm kind of happy with this. I think that makes sense. Definitely needs some work from the front view, and maybe something like this. All right. Now I would like to, let's go ahead and work on the leg. So for the leg, it's just going to be something really simple. Hold on the shift key if you want to smooth things out. You can almost melt your mesh too, kind of deflate it if you just keep smoothing it out. You can see how it's getting thinner and thinner. And I sort of like that, and I need that to add those donuts in there. So I'll do that. Let's come up here, let's smooth all this out. And I don't really see like a belly or anything. It's more like this. If you wanted to bring the shoulders up, make your brush a little bit larger, maybe even larger, and just literally just move this up, kind of give them more of a shoulder. So I think, because it looks like they're kind of higher up, so something like that. Very cool. Let's go ahead and work on the fingers real quick. So I'm gonna go to the top view. I'm getting to the top view by, again, I'm in the orthographic view. So if you hold on the shift key and just move your mouse to the top, you can rotate the camera, and holding on the shift, that will allow you, if you let go of the shift, it will allow you to rotate, but then if you hold on the shift again, it will allow you to snap. So keep that in mind. So you can essentially snap to front view, side view, back view. Holding down the Alt key, I can drag, and then keep your eye on this guy so you can see how the camera is rotating. So that's pretty much it. And then you can click somewhere once to change your pivot. That's a nice feature in zBrush. And then you can smooth it. All right, so let's go ahead and again go back into our fingers here. And let's just make them a little bit longer. Just gonna pull them out. So something like that. This is gonna be my thumb. If we wanted to give some bend to the hand, maybe we can give them, pull this in a little bit. And if you wanted to make the point of the fingers a little more round, you can always, let me move this reference out of the way. You can always grab something like the inflate brush and kind of inflate the fingers so they're a little more kind of spherical. If you hold on the control key and drag, you can Dynamesh. And I'm gonna grab my move brush and maybe just kind of figure out where the bend of the fingers is. So maybe something like this. So this is going to be his thumb. Let's go ahead and shape it into a thumb. I don't really see much detail on his hand, but let's just make it look like a hand. So you got a little hand action over here. So I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and add the rings. All right, so next let's go ahead and give him these donuts for his legs. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these donuts. So for that, I'm just gonna append a donut, and let me move this back down. And let's see, if I grab my scale tool, I can scale this down, put it in position, something like that. And if we wanted to kind of inflate that, we can always do the inflate, which you can find in the deformation tab. So that is inflate. We can even change the scale a little bit. And let's go ahead and put it in position. So it's, I guess it's somewhere around here. Now to duplicate them, all you need to do is just hold on the control key and move up. So that's going to be 1. And we can put it in position, hold on the control again, This is going to be 2, and keep going. So that's 3. Okay, we've got 4, 5, 6, and let's do one more. It's going to be 7, and we can change the size a little bit if we wanted to. So we've got something like this, and it's definitely not looking like it's well aligned, right? So I'm gonna hold on the control and drag, and now what I could do is I can unlock this. I can put my pivot on the bottom, so somewhere around here. I can lock this back up, and then I can rotate this to better align it with the rest of the leg. And if we wanted this to be a little higher, we can just scale this up, so we can kind of control the height of these rings. So it does look like he has a little bit of, I don't know what that is, a thigh, right? He's got a little thigh. And we can even rotate it this way if we needed to. We can inflate these more if we wanted to do that. So that's pretty cool. Another thing we can do is, of course, we can mirror it, and then we can do mirror and weld to flip it to the other side. So now we have 2 of them. All right, and then for the arm, I'm looking at his forearm here. It's clearly much skinnier than the rest of his body. So I'm gonna go to draw, and maybe let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go to my subtool. I'm gonna make sure that I'm on the right layer. And you can either select the layer, or you can hold on the Alt key, and that will allow you to tap and flip to the right layer if you just want to do it that way. And I'm just gonna make my I want to grab my move brush, and I'm gonna make this part of his arm a lot skinnier, so I can put those just like the reference, kind of make room for the rings. So I'm doing it from only one view, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and jump into this view and do the same thing. Just kind of bring all this in. Again, you can hold on the shift key to smooth this out if you wanted to. And next, let's go ahead and add the rings to that. So same way, I'm gonna go to append, grab my donut here. I'm gonna go to move. I'm gonna begin to rotate this, but then hold on the shift key so I can snap it. Put it in position, just scale it down. And let's make sure that it's properly aligned. We can scale this if we want it to be fitting a little better. So something like that. And there's 4 of them, right? So I'm gonna angle this a little bit. Hold down the control key and just duplicate this 3 times. So there you go, and I have 4 of them. Hold on control and drag again to get rid of my mask. I can scale this and rotate it and just kind of make sure that it fits on his arm, just like the reference. We can always, instead of inflating, we can also deflate, right? So that's, we can do that, but maybe we don't want to do that because that doesn't look right. I'm gonna hold on the Alt key and tab, grab my move tool, hold on the Alt key and tab on my body here and make sure that this kind of fits into that ring without intersecting. So I'm gonna fix that. And keep in mind, I'm still in the X symmetry mode, so I know I'm doing the same thing on the other side of the character as well. All right. And now, of course, we need to duplicate our forearm rings to the other side. So to do that, I'm just gonna do a mirror and weld. All All right, that looks pretty good. I think I am pretty happy with that. Now, next is definitely going to be adding the toes, right? So for the toes, let's go ahead and do a pen again. And let's go ahead and let's see. How about this cone? This cone looks a lot like the nail already. So I'm gonna select my cone layer. Let's hold on the shift key. I can snap if I needed to. I can scale this down. And let's just put this into position. So something like that. I'm gonna go into my perspective view so I can get kind of a better feel for the angles here. And just continue to scale and move it around until it makes sense. So it looks like I need 3 of these guys. And maybe I can go from the top view. I mean from the bottom. So something, I guess something like that should work. Maybe lower this a little bit. And if you wanted to, maybe we want to have the bottom of his feet to be flat so we can put these nails into a better position. And there's a couple of tricks to do this. The best way I think is just going to be selecting the body layer, then holding down Control and Shift, going to the brush, then selecting this knife rectangular tool and just simply cutting the bottom of the feet just like that. And now if we make our brush a little larger, we can smooth this out a little bit. And let's go ahead and go back to our nail, go to move, put this in position. Go in the bottom view and let's go ahead and clone this. So I'm gonna hold on Control key, drag it, rotate it, and do it once again. Now I can hold on Control and get rid of the selection. If I unlock this, I can put it in the center, right? And now if I lock this again, from the center, I can actually rotate all 3 of them at once. So maybe something like that. We can also, at this point, grab our move tool, make the brush kind of large and just move it around that way. That's another option. So if we wanted maybe the nails be a little lower, we can just make the brush, move brush kind of smaller, right? And just drag these nails down a little bit. So something like that I think is good. I'm going to now clone them to the other side. So again, do a mirror and weld. As long as they are on the left, I can just shoot them over to the other side. And you can see how quickly we begin to kind of sculpt the character. And to make it into a playable game character, for example, you definitely can't leave him in this Dynamesh mode because you can see that he has a lot of geometry. Right now he has 121,000 points or 123,000 polygons, right? So that's way too much. Something like this should probably be just a couple thousand for a game character. So that's where zRemesher obviously comes into play. And maybe just for fun, maybe let's go ahead and give him kind of this color so he looks a little more like the reference. To do that, I'm gonna select the body and I'm gonna go to my material, select your material. So right now I have it set to skin shade 4, which is just one of the ZBrush defaults, and that's fine. It just comes with ZBrush. So I'm gonna select skin shade 4, and if you press C, that will select whatever color you have in here, but if you click on this, I don't think ZBrush is going to let me sample this reference, which is kind of sad. So I'm just going to have to manually try to find that same color. So I think it's something like this. All right. Now to paint this color into the body, you want to turn on your RGB. Make sure your RGB is set to 100% intensity, and then you want to do a fill object. And if you don't know where your fill object button is, mine is just dragged on my interface. But if you hover over anything in ZBrush, it will tell you where it's located. So if I hold on the control key, you can see that it's saying on the bottom, it says color fill object. So it's under a color tab. So if you go to color, the fill object is going to be right there. So in my case, I just dragged it onto my interface. But either way, once you select your color, you can press fill object. And as soon as you do, you can see this brush was activated, showing you that now this mesh is being colored, right? Which is great. So now I'm going to move on to the next one, and let's go ahead and do the same thing. Just kind of find what that other color is. Maybe, yeah, something like that. That was pretty quick. I'm going to do fill object on that, and these are the forearm ones, so I'm going to fill object on that, and then let's go to the nails. And then for the nails, they look like they're kind of a bluish, light blue, I guess, something like that. I'm going to do fill object. And again, for the eyes, if we want to do this eyebrow thing, we could go to maybe like a standard brush. And if you hold on, if you hover over your mesh and press C, it's going to sample the color, and now you can see that it was actually selected back. So if I hover over this color, I can press C and you can see it's being selected. So I want to choose this one and maybe make it a little darker, just like the brows there. And you can just literally, in the standard brush, if you uncheck add and just turn RGB only, this will allow you to paint on your model. So you can, paint in the eyebrows. If you hold down the Alt key, that's not going to do anything. But if you wanted to paint something in, but then you wanted to erase this, you just press hover over this color, press C, and then go back and just draw right over it. So you can go back and forth and kind of create what you need. So for the eyes, why not? Let's just go ahead and see if we can paint those in as well. So that's something. Let's see, I want to make sure that I get the shape right. So it's something like that, and then it goes kind of down. So I'm definitely gonna not do as well with the eyes, because to me, for some reason, I'm finding them a little bit tricky. So, but it's something like this. And if you wanted to make those sharper, again, hold on, hover over the body, press C, and if we go back, we should be able to just make this a little sharper. And even go back here and just kind of make this sharper as well. So something like that. And then for the white, let's select white and maybe make this brush even smaller so it's even finer. And let's go ahead and draw the eyes. Hover over the black, press C to select the black again, and then maybe we can kind of refine this a little bit. And for the center, I'm just gonna do something like that. And then let's hover over the white, press C, make our brush even smaller. let's do kind of the center, just like they have. So something like along these lines. All right, so the only other thing that I'm realizing that I missed is this ankle blob, whatever that is. So right there. So let's maybe quickly add that as well. So I'm just gonna do a append, and my reference is on the way, so I'm gonna move this over. And for the reference, I'm using a program called PureRef. You can download it and use it as well. It's a great little reference app that will allow you to kind of float your images over any program. I strongly recommend it. So I'm gonna press append, and let's just grab something like, I think a sphere should work. And I'm gonna select my sphere layer. I'm gonna go to scale, let's scale this down. Move this, let's move it to the side so we can see a little better. And I'm gonna jump out of the perspective mode, and you know what? I would like to, let's reset our pivot, but I think I'm just gonna chop half of it off. So I'm gonna hold on Control Shift. I still have my knife tool selected, which is great, which means I can just cut half of this off. Very nice. Maybe we can scale this in a little bit. Down. Let's go ahead and put it on the left side so we can mirror it afterwards. So I'm just gonna add that right there. And I think that works. All right, I'm gonna zoom out, and again, I'm gonna go to mirror and weld and just flip it over to the other side. So there it is on the other side. And now to color it just like before, let's just select kind of this kind of a mustard yellow, and just do a fill object, and that fills it in. So now you can see that each layer has this color filled in. And let's zoom out and take a look. All right, so there he is. So it was a fun little exercise. If you wanted to take this to the next level, you definitely want to go through each layer and Z-remesh it, and then also do UVs, maybe in your program of choice, Maya, Blender, or whatever you like to use. Do UVs and then bring it into like Substance Painter for maybe texturing, and turn it into a playable game character. All right, so thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next video.